Hello, welcome back. Today we're talking about reactions in Warcry 2.0. And if you haven't looked at these reactions, you don't know how much they are changing this game. These reactions are huge. They're going to change Warcry for the better and in a big way. So one of the problems with Warcry in the past that certainly my gaming group have felt is that it might not be as tactical as it could be. And certainly a lot of my gaming group walked away from Warcry as soon as Kill Team 2.0 hit the shelves. Reactions are going to change the way you play, most likely. So we're going to run through the core ones, and we're also going to talk about the ones we already know for the Rottmire Creed and the Horns of Hashut, right? So we've got two models here. We'll talk about their stats in a second, but basically I know they're from the same warband. That's irrelevant. We're going to go through all the different reactions separately. Okay, so first of all, we'll look at counter. So what counter does is, if you fail to hit your opponent, you will take a penalty for it. So let's look at these two models. So we'll take the Necromancer, okay? So he's got a strength 4, and he's up against a toughness of 4 for the Skeleton Warrior. So basically, he needs to hit 4s to put any wounds on him. With his staff, he rolls 3 dice. Okay, so we're hitting on 4s here. Let's see if we get anything. Okay, so he hits a 4, so that goes through successfully. There's a 2 and a 1 there. For the 2, he takes 1 damage, as if the skeleton has countered his blow. And any rolls of 1, you take 2 damage. So although he's hit the skeleton and caused 1 damage, he's actually received 3 damage in return. So what you can see now is we might have a few fighters that, let's say they might roll 4 or 5 dice, but their opponent might be a lot tougher than their strength. So they're likely to start shedding quite a lot of wounds. So you're going to really start picking your fights a little bit more cleverly, and you're also going to be perhaps not sacrificing units, but perhaps putting more effort into claiming objectives and that kind of thing. Okay, so that is counter. The next one is take cover. So this allows fighters who are targeted by missile attacks to negate any critical hits. Okay, so the Necromancer here, he's got range attacks 3 to 7 inches. He rolls 2 dice and he's got a strength of 3 against a toughness of 4. So he will only hit on 5s and 6s. Right, so if we roll that, let's hope we get a 6. We didn't get a 6. But if we did, on the take cover reaction, and again, it's if you choose to react. You don't have to react, you choose to. So on any critical hit, if you roll a d6, if you're receiving the wounds and you roll a 4 up, you didn't there, but if you did roll a 4 up, the crit would only do standard damage. So for example, he does 6 damage on a crit, he would only do the damage of a normal attack, and that would be 3. So that one is obviously quite important, and it will make a big difference, especially if you've got a lot of ranged units in your opponent's warband that are trying to pepper you with shots. Perhaps when you're trying to, hold on to an objective or something like that, it will help to negate some of those wounds. Okay, and now here's a really important one. Okay, if you're engaged in combat, this one's called strike them down. Okay, if you're engaged in combat, let's say that these guys are engaged and there's an objective here, right? If he wants to disengage to try and get to that objective, if you choose to do the reaction strike them down, you roll a d6 and you hope for a 4 up, okay? He didn't get it, but if he did, he gets to do the strike them down reaction. And for this reaction, if you're able to do it, you roll d6 damage, okay? Now for a disengagement, that's huge. Don't forget, when you're disengaging, it's difficult anyway because you're not moving very far. And, quite often if you disengage on your opponent's next, when they next activate that fighter, he's coming straight back at you anyway. But now if you do it, there's a good chance you're going to be taking some damage to go with it. So those are the 3 core reactions, and they're available to every warband. Now let's have a look at the two warband specific ones that we know. So the Rottmire Creed have got Bile Blood, and we're going to proxy these guys as the new warbands, just so as we can go through them. Okay. So let's say Rottmire Creed. So you roll a dice for each crit received by this fighter before wounds are allocated, right? So let's say, for example, he's had 3 crits against him, okay? So you roll those and you roll 3 dice, okay? So he's received 3 crits, so you roll 3 dice, right? For each one that is on a 3-up, you're going to allocate 3 damage to your opponent, okay? Now 3-up, that's, you know, you've got a kind of a 4 in 6 chance of hitting, or 2 in 3 chance, right? So again, that's a big one. It starts laying out wounds pretty quickly. And if you're a small fighter like him, so if it's gone the other way, if you're small like him and you haven't got that many wounds, so those skeletons, for example, only have 8 wounds, you could die on your own attack pretty easily. Okay, and the other warband specific reaction, Horns of Hashut, has got Breath of Cinder and Smoke. Okay, and so basically, if a fighter moves within 3 inches, roll a dice. If the roll is the same or more than the toughness of your opponent, and that is because the Necromancer is toughness 4. Okay, so we rolled a 6. So that's higher than his toughness. Allocate 3 damage and subtract 1 from his melee strength until the end of the battle round. So if he's moved there to try and belt the skeleton, not only does he take 3 damage because we rolled a 3-up, but his melee strength has dropped from 4 to 3. And so we know that the skeleton's toughness 4. So on a strength 3, he can now only hit on 5s and 6s. So those are the reactions that we know about. So really, between counter and strike them down, so there's standard reactions available to every single warband. Between those two, this is going to seriously change the way we play. We're going to start picking our battles differently. So if you thought it was difficult going, so this little skeleton dude, if you thought that his life was difficult going into a battle with maybe an ogre, it's got so much worse. Because some of these reactions can kill models before, you know, without any models even needing to activate. Same with strike them down. Now, you might, so why would you disengage? You're either trying to get out of combat because you know you're going to get smashed, or you're trying to take an objective, move somewhere else and do something else. Well, the fact is if it wasn't limiting before, now you're getting smashed in the face as you're trying to get out of the way. So there's no doubt that some of these reactions are going to benefit some warbands more than others. And what I'll do is when the new compendium comes out, I'll be going through all of those in depth, and especially the reaction. So if you think about some warbands that maybe they're not as tough, or maybe they don't move very quickly, but the quality of that warband comes out through their abilities. Well, now that quality is going to shine through in the reactions as well. And it's really important to remember that on your abilities table for each warband, not every model can do all of those abilities. But if they've got good reactions, everyone in that warband can do it. There might be some changes in your rules. There might be, you know, unless the reaction says that certain models can't do it. But as far as I'm aware, they're all going to be able to do it. So Warcry 2.0 for me was originally looked like, well, it looks far too similar to the original. But with the addition of reactions, I think it's going to really change the way we play. In fact, when it comes out and people start playing again, I think the real winners that have played tournaments and that kind of thing are going to be the guys who initially really nail their reactions before anyone else. So there you go. I'm going to have lots more Warcry content coming very soon. In the meantime, the pre-order starts today. If you use the link in the description to do that, I'll get a little teeny kickback from Element Games. You'll pay the same price, but you will be supporting the channel no end. So thank you very, very much for using that link. It really, really helps me and I really appreciate it. If you're looking forward to more Warcry content, make sure you drop a subscribe because I'm going to be back on it very soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.